Awesome. Okay. So I'm going to set this to live now, and we are off and running. Good afternoon, everyone. This is Tom Osa. We are doing our 6th in a series of Small Business Friday forums today. This effort is sponsored by the Workforce Development Board of Rockland County. It is also championed by the Chamber Alliance of Rockland. That's a collection of all of the individual chambers of commerce across Rockland County. So we've been doing this since, I'd say, the beginning of March, when unfortunately all of the concerns began with staying home, shelter in place, which is important still during the COVID-19 pandemic. And hopefully everyone out there is as safe and healthy as possible, and you're still able to navigate through the choppy waters that are in front of us, and over the course of time, things will get better. Today we have a very special guest, Mr. Jeremy Shulman, who's the director of the Rockland County Economic Development and Tourism, the entire county. We'll also have Joseph Baratta from Baratta Associates, who will be discussing the state of the real estate market. But as always, I wanted to first reintroduce the executive director of the Workforce Development Board, Ms. Deborah Thomas. She's provided wonderful leadership for the board over the last year and a half, 2 years, and just want to reintroduce you. Thanks for being here again with us, Debbie.
Thanks, Tom. And I wanted to, on behalf of the board and officers of the Workforce Development Board of Rockland County, we wanted to thank Jeremy and Joe for their work with us today. And thank you once again, Tom, for all you're doing on behalf of the business community. And we want to thank the business leaders that are out there supporting our community and working with us. We need one another right now, and we definitely want to thank you for your leadership. And we appreciate the feedback and guidance that you're giving to us, because it's really critical that we hear from you about how we can work together and work our way forward. Thanks so much, and thank you for your program today.
And the Workforce Development Board of Rockland County has a website at rocklandwork.org. It's a wonderful resource right now. It's updated on a daily basis, all different sorts of guidance that we're collecting and putting into individual locations, very easy to access, resources for individuals. If you need to file for unemployment insurance or unemployment in general, information there for that. Also resources for employers related to the economic disaster assistance programs that are available through the federal government, through the Small Business Administration, and even some local programs that can help you to navigate through. So you can access all of this information at rocklandwork.org. I should also note that all of the previous Friday forums are available. You can go to the Friday forums link and be able to view all of the previous Friday forums. A lot of great information. Last week we had Egbert Chillenford, director of the Rockland County Career Center. He's planning on doing a virtual job fair in mid-May. And more details on that forthcoming. So without further ado, I'd really just like to introduce again Mr. Jeremy Shulman, Director of Rockland County Economic Development and Tourism. I've known Mr. Shulman, I guess, for about 7 or 8 years. First through the VOAD. Were you on the Rockland County VOAD, Volunteer Organizations Active in Disaster? Or?
That was before my time, but REDC, yes.
Yes. So you were the head of the Rockland Economic Development Corporation before you were appointed to the current role. But I also, and I didn't know this, you have a large amount of experience, not just with the County of Rockland, but the City of New Rochelle. Was that 17 years over there, or?
Correct, yeah. Served over in Westchester, and before that, in Rockland County, in the planning department, actually.
So a lot of vast experience. I guess you brought all of that into your current role. Maybe you could tell us a little bit about the Rockland Economic Development and Tourism Office.
Yeah, absolutely. So, yeah, thank you first, Tom, for providing this vehicle. You are ahead of the curve even before this health crisis, and for showing people how they can relate to each other through digital tools, which is obviously more important than ever, especially right now. And I want to thank Deb Thomas and Lynn Allen from the Workforce Development Board for Rockland County for sponsoring such an important series. It keeps us connected, which is crucial. And thanks also to the county executive and Deputy Rosa for their certain leadership and guidance during a very uncertain period, because it really is a privilege to serve county government right now and be a part of a truly team-oriented, organized approach to crisis and project management, along with all of my professional and volunteer peers. So, I just wanted to cover a little bit, or basically an introduction about who we are and what we do. We are the Department of Economic Development and Tourism, and you could add film to that as well. But what that essentially is business. Economic development is business. It's facilitating and coordinating the gears of the local economy and providing that environment for job growth, for investment, for company relocation, for BR&E, which is yet another acronym for business retention and expansion, and you can include attraction and relocation along with that. So we thought we might be working on actually an acronym advocate, if you will, for our website to demystify all of these terms, because we live in them every day. So definitely stop me if you don't if you're not familiar with one of them. The other thing we do is encourage and engage tourism, which of course is now virtual. So we're working with all of our affiliates, the attractions. This is such an important sector to the economy, hospitality and tourism, for Rockland County for obvious reasons, because of our wonderful natural and historic and cultural and artistic assets. So we're working with them to figure out and map this out, what virtual experiences they offer right now, how we can keep people interested and engaged, so that when we come out of this, they'll be craving places to go to, even if we have to stage it. We're not sure exactly what that's going to look like yet, but we are here to together partner with those partners, whether it's the hotels, the restaurants, businesses and nonprofits, to tackle continued revitalization, which was happening all along in terms of our villages, transit-oriented development. These are the places that have been hit the hardest. So it's working with those centers as well as the major employment bases, which I just mentioned before, in order to reimagine the economy, what this will look like, our place in it. And we've made such great strides, so that we hope to be able to continue to position ourselves coming out of this. So what else? This is going to help, we're looking at a holistic view to repair our neighborhoods, the damage that's been done, and be able to rebound. And so everybody's talking about now, including on a state and federal level, what that's going to look like, the reopening, the reshifting, which is going to happen. We're at the point, I hope, where we can plan for what that economy reopening is going to look like. In conjunction, it's going to have to be with a socioeconomic, health-related strategy or component, because they're inexorably linked. So that's what county government is working on. We're assembling teams right now, and regional organizational advice and guidance to be able to say, here we are physically, here we are time-wise, here we are geographically, here's what's transpired, getting the input from our partners and affiliates, the Rockland Business Association, the Industrial Development Agency. They have a tax relief program as well. It's always been in place. Looking at the census, for example, the complete count committee that the county formed is comprised of community groups that will be central to our count, because when you're talking about being accessible, being counted. We want to ensure that accuracy for now more than ever before, for recovery funding, down to the census block. These could be individual streets. It's going to be so important, and so we have that in place to be able to mobilize and transfer now that resource for something we didn't anticipate happening before.
I have a quick question, if I can.
Yeah, go ahead, please jump in.
So you mentioned about being able to get as granular as street by street, which is an interesting concept. Is the technology in place at the moment for that? Or are there certain, let's say, legacy technologies that had to be thrown out in order to accommodate new technologies to have that sort of granularity?
In terms of the census?
Yeah, the census, as well as being able to use that data moving forward for your planning.
Well, the ways of reaching people, have always been mail, in person, online, and then following up with that with phone calls, reaching people the way they need to be reached. So obviously we're receiving whatever guidelines it's a federal program essentially. So we're having to abide by those. And the Rockland Planning Department, frankly, is that repository for the census information eventually. Mm-hmm. They're the ones that parse it out, able to interpret the results, and work with us to see what that means in terms of community development block grant programs, for example, and funding, which runs through HUD, Housing and Urban Development, the federal agency. So, it's just really important that that the whole of Rockland County is included, and because of that current health crisis, there are opportunities that are created because of this overlap. It's almost like everyone counts, which is what we always say, and you can put an emphasis on that even more now. Every person counts, every street, every neighborhood. So it's definitely a challenge, Tom. It will be. We knew this when it started, but we're prepared to do what we can do to get the word out. And like I said, those groups, whether it's community, clergy, nonprofits, business leaders, other stakeholders, are going to be more central than ever before, and including the chambers that are watching this, to get the word out. So send your census form in if you haven't already, please. And if you need guidance with that, call my office or call the county, and we will help you.
Do you have any statistics as to how many people have filled out the census thus far, or is that sent back to the...
that I don't know. Yeah, we don't know that yet. But we're looking at these collaborations and our place in the region and what advantages that we have, transportation wise, even looking at New Jersey. These are artificial borders when it comes to a crisis like COVID. And there are many similarities with Rockland and other places and our neighbors. And so, corporate headquarters moving there, manufacturers moving here to Rockland, it's all mutually beneficial. We've always said that we want to find our niche and compete in a healthy way with the region. So while we may have been perceived as rivals in the past, and maybe we could talk more about this, in a few minutes in terms of real estate. For a recovery and stimulus, it's really going to be important that, we identify and assess our strengths and weaknesses. That's SWOT analysis, and how we can collaborate with, with who it is that we need to push forward. And if that's going to, cross a border into New Jersey, so be it. If that's going to move up the line to the, north of us, so be it. It'll make us stronger. We also, are a liaison to New York State Empire State Development Corporation, which is the economic development arm for the state. So working with them, filling out surveys, so that we can be a part. Our voice is heard is obviously important. The consolidated funding application, for example, is the state's annual, college essay, let's put it, for releasing funds across departments to organizations and companies that have economic development projects. What that looks like this year remains to be seen. Obviously, the funding is going to be more important. So we're keeping an eye on that. We're working with them to be prepared to be able to put out the word and help whoever needs assistance. I mean, it's interesting. Before the crisis, unemployment in Rockland County was the lowest in the Hudson Valley region at 3.8%. We will lead again, and we will be prepared, and we're positioned well to do that.
With regards to the CFA, and I think it goes through is it the Mid-Hudson?
Right, Regional Economic Development Council.
Okay, yeah. So there's 4 different pillars that New York State has communicated in the past. I think one had to do with jobs, one was environment, sustainability. There were 2 others. Have those 4 pillars changed, or have you heard anything with regards to those pillars changing to shift?
We have not yet. I mean, you could expect it to change. It's live, work, play, and last year we had a focus on workforce initiatives, which aligns really with everything, education as well, and childcare resources. So when you think of the socioeconomic aspect of what the recovery is going to be, again, those elements, including education and career pathways, connecting to, let's say, industry sectors, or what they call priority industry sectors, are the links that need to be strengthened, and and so that we can put the pieces in place that we need to. And workforce and land use are going to be central also. I think people are going to be discovering that being sheltered in place, maybe some people could make it work, and that then coming out of this they prefer a shorter commute as opposed to going into New York City, for example. So we're going to need to look at housing opportunities, affordable housing, workforce housing, mixed use developments, and these are the elements of land use that help economic development, transportation, commuting. Some people will realize they prefer it, even if they were forced to do it now, or able to use technology like they were not before, if they have the resources. And Workforce Development Board, for example, can help train and provide certification along with our educational institutions and the skills for people to be able to shift to different industries. If it's the restaurant worker to a warehouse, for example, moving to larger potential employment bases is something, obviously, that's going to be really central. And municipalities should look at rezoning and form-based codes for sites that traditionally, let's say they harbored department stores or large-scale retail zoning districts. We should be looking at other uses right now, light industry, technology fields, because I think what happened, and again, maybe the real estate discussion will shed some more light on this, but beforehand, some property owners may have been resistant, for example, to lease to any other use except retail, which command higher rates. Now things have changed, obviously even more, but it was happening before as well with, people shopping on, online, etc. And so again, it's an opportunity because Rockland County has the real estate inventory. We have, across the scale, we have large sites, up to 1 million square feet in certain cases of commercial and heavy industry, and also fantastic commercial corridors. along 59 and the Thruway and 304 and 303, to be able to, not just imagine it, but execute a plan that works, that's sustainable and viable.
Yeah, and I had over the years, and especially during the development of the new Cuomo Bridge, I had the inclination that our population was going to inevitably increase over the course of time, where Rockland became much more of a prominent hub after the bridge was developed. So if we go back to, let's say, 1955, when the original TZ Bridge was built, I think it eventually increased the population of Rockland. My figures aren't exactly correct, but by 30% higher amount of people living in Rockland over a course of 10 years. So I figured that would happen over time with the new bridge being built. The way it seems now is, and especially just psychologically, people just don't want to be as close proximity to others anymore, at least for the foreseeable future. So I would agree with you. I think that people are going to start looking toward places with more open spaces, such as Rockland, to build their business and their families and everything.
Yeah, it's a convenience factor as well. Obviously, the new bridge has seen more truck traffic, before the crisis. But there are breakdown lanes now. There's bus, rapid transit, the shared use path, obviously, with Rockland Landing and Westchester Landing presents a touristic opportunity. And we'll see how the state's able to open that up, and the Thruway Authority with physical distancing. But it's it could be an attraction, for pedestrians, for bicyclists, and then to be able to actually go into Rockland and patronize businesses in Nyack and further afield. It's unique. It'll have a visitor center, a kiosk. And so that's the other part of what we do is marketing Rockland County and putting Rockland on the map. And to that end, we're developing an economic development webpage to be able to put out information, obviously, about COVID right now, which we did for nonprofits and businesses. It's off of the main page, but also rebranding and building a economic development website and a place for a newsletter. Taking this time to plan for the future and to market now for tomorrow. We're looking at doing a meetings and venues guide and sports and recreation guide, highlighting traditional and unique spaces, so that we are prepared for people to go back to work, go back to play, go back to what they want in Rockland County. And it might be something that we have to highlight being in your own backyard right now, as opposed to targeting so many visitors from out of Rockland County, which we're usually doing. But that's going to be part of this phasing and this staging of and timing of the reopening. And so we're preparing bid documents and our own integrated marketing strategy to be able to do that and help really companies and nonprofits do that, which makes us successful. And communication. We hosted 2 live stream sessions already covering SBA disaster relief loans and resources and incentives and resource and fund updates. And we talked about marketing and business planning and the resources available there. Also, we introduced a little bit of a global perspective for other places around the world that may have been ahead of us with the the virus path. And
yes, the gentleman from Germany, right?
On our last live stream, yeah, we had
Yes.
someone from European Trade Council called TBIC, Transatlantic Business Investment Council, and that was really to balance out what we're talking about locally. I think it always helps to look around and look at best practices and see what's happening. But it's another tool in our kit, a research partner that we have. We're working on day-to-day economic development. These companies have identified Rockland, some of them manufacturers, the food industry, pharmaceutical industry, that that like Rockland, because it's in that tri-state area, it has the space that they need, it has the workforce and the talent and infrastructure, good manufacturing practice infrastructure that was left behind with some of the other economic shifts. So, and again, that's going to be more critical now than ever that we land some of these, but it's ongoing. These you know these attraction efforts, and you know,
how many virtual meetings are you doing per day at this point?
Well, everything is virtual conference call now. So yeah, we're keeping them on track. These you know, these companies are working hard with the private property owners, as well as the municipalities, to be able to you know, to work together, which we always have to do in Rockland, but we're an accessible team, which helps. And you know, and all of the things that we work on, they overlap in terms of tourism and film as well. So, you know, participating in like the RBA's Hospitality and Tourism Forum, which is kind of like a de facto tourism board, to listen to experiences and operators and brainstorm on solutions has been very helpful. Trying to promote these virtual experiences, whether it's Hopper House exhibits or Garner Historic District, Holocaust Museum even, and be able to you know, retain interest and communicate plans is so important. In terms of you know, target markets and media placement, you know, that's something obviously that has changed, which we talked about, and we're working with these partners on a case-by-case basis to see what works best for them. If it's an event that is postponed or put off till 2021 even, you know, how we can stage that with them and help them change the scope if need be. But yeah, I do think people will be craving these experiences, and Rockland County has them. And you know, the shift, it's a shift really from expansion to retention of operations in many cases. And same thing with film. We're looking inward, updating our internal guides and village and town contacts, so we can continue to be that central clearinghouse and referral for location scouts and directors. We were doing a ton of filming right before the crisis. And you know, what's interesting is that, you know, obviously everybody is streaming something now. I think I heard that adults have doubled the time they spent watching you know, Netflix and other platforms. Netflix added 15 million new subscribers, right? I've heard. So to be able to pick up strong, because there's so much content out there, right, and create the permanent infrastructure to accommodate the film industry is something that we're looking at, obviously. You know, taking advantage of the incentive zone that we're in. It's a 25-30 mile buffer from New York City. And, you know, during the crisis, this has been an escape, right? You know, film. And it's something that, you know, we're looking to use a public-private partnership to accelerate and bring to the next level, like with an academic institution like RCC, for example, a SUNY certification for film and digital media, paired with, you know, a private development that would build out sound stages for the county, which we already have 4 qualified production facilities, for example, in the county, which means that there are specifications that can access New York State film incentives if they film there. But these, you know, academic to business to career pathways, or ABC as we call it, you know, are going to provide opportunities for our workforce, some of which we haven't contemplated before. So maybe that some of those things are jumping off points to discuss any
yeah,
you know, any aspect of what we.
And I'm gonna bring Joe in a few minutes to discuss the real estate market. Before we stop the formal part of this, do you have any I guess, particular advice for, I'd say primarily the businesses of Rockland. Any particular guidance that you think that generally business owners in Rockland should be focusing on, especially as we start to come out of the pandemic and begin to create a plan to get back to work?
Well, I guess to communicate to us what it is your individual needs are so that we can provide guidance and direction. And, that could be, working with the SBDC, which we've featured on our live streams. That's the Small Business Development Center at Rockland Community College, which really helps small businesses, guide them through SBA disaster recovery loans, but just other loans in general, or it could be government contracts, bids, or RFPs that, for example, might be available. They might not have been available before because certain products and services are much more needed now. The SBDC does that service as well. So it's really communicating to us what it is that you need so that we can identify that and steer you to the right resource. I would definitely look at marketing and business planning and taking advantage of organizations like SCORE, which is a free mentoring service, to be able to put that, I would say, priority/emergency plan that you need in place right now, while at the same time developing a short, medium, and long-term plan, trying to anticipate as best you can the nature of of a reopening, if that's going to be in stages, in phases, and what have you. So, please definitely contact us, contact the Workforce Development Board, and we want to hear from you. We want to hear your experiences. We want to be able to communicate those to whoever it is that we can partner with to help you, which is going to help us in Rockland in the end.
Great. Well, thank you. And I know you're going to stay on. We're going to have some time for group discussion. So just as if you need to reach out to Mr. Shulman and the Economic Development and Tourism Office directly, put the main number for county government, and I'm sure there's a directory that people, when they dial, they'll be able to reach your office, 845-364-2000.
And it's 845-364-2170 directly.
Okay, so let me put that underneath here. 364-2170, you say?
Yeah, and and the other thing is there's been a lot of great ideas circulating and people being innovative and inventors and entrepreneurs. And some of that is obviously coming out of necessity, mother of invention, being forced into these situations. But that that's something then that we can help germinate into real business with your help. And I know a lot of people and businesses and nonprofits need help right now because they can't do what they did before or what they want to do or what they're doing now. So that's where this early stage business development can be mined a little bit further, so that we could again work together to navigate this crisis.
Great. Well, thank you for your time. You're going to stay on with us for a little bit if you can. I wanted to bring in my friend for many years, Joseph Baratta. We are in a networking group together for approximately 11 or 12 years. We meet up at, don't laugh, 7 o'clock in the morning. Well, I'm always late, but about 7 o'clock in the morning every Thursday with a group of 12 to 15 people. We're not here to talk about that today, but I wanted to bring in Joe to talk a little bit about the real estate industry and how agents and brokers are shifting during the crisis. So Joe, welcome to our Friday forums. Thanks for being here.
Hi, Tom. Hi, everybody. Good afternoon. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, yes.
Great.
Yeah.
Great.
So how's everything your way?
Well, I tell you, I could use a stronger prescription for my glasses after sitting in front of a screen so many hours a day. But other than that, we're great. Everybody's hanging in there.
When I travel back and forth, I have a place up north, and then visit my girlfriend. I drive right past your house, so just so you know, every once in a while I'm waving outside your house from the car.
You can beep.
I'll beep.
Yeah. Okay.
So,
well.
Yeah, tell us how things are happening. During the crisis.
Well, I tell you, somewhere mid-March, I'm not exactly sure the date, when we were given the non-essential workers had to stay home. At some point, we had the New York State, and I guess the United States, had an awful lot of transactions that were ready to close, and mid-transaction, and inspections needed to be done on transactions that were in good shape. The mortgage market is still doing very well. The rates had come down. So on the 1st of April, we were deemed essential. Actually, no, that's, on April 1st, we were deemed essential workers, and we can go and limited amount of exposure. We can open a real estate office and have just the back office with social distancing and personal protection, etc. But there is no in-contact showings whatsoever. So that was on April 1st. On April 3rd, 2 days later, there was an additional executive order that came in for clarification, because a lot of real estate companies just assumed that since we were essential workers, it was business as usual. So everyone started making phone calls and saying, hey, we're back on, come on over, we can take you and show homes again. And that was not the case. So April 3rd, the clarification came down that said that we have to learn to work virtually, and we can do everything from home, and we're limited to what we can do outside. But essentially, real estate people themselves are locked in the home. We're on lockdown, and we have quite a recipe of things we are allowed to do and not allowed to do. Just recently, on the 21st of April, just 3 days ago, they just sent us the most efficient piece of COVID-19 disclosure that we can actually use, because there was no showings whatsoever. We had enough, I guess New York got enough complaints from homeowners that were desperate to sell, home buyers in need of homes that were desperate. So they sent us this very nice COVID-19 disclosure that is going to be signed by a seller, saying that they're going to hold harmless any buyer that comes in the home, and won't sue the brokerage firm or the buyer that comes in. And also everyone agrees to social distancing. If we have a buyer that wants to go see a property, we, the agents, cannot show the property in person, but the seller can agree to unlock the door, get the house all ready. The buyer comes in with a signed disclosure that we have on file in advance. The buyer can walk through the home, not touch anything. They have to have all their PPE on, walk through the home, and then leave, because the original plan was everything was virtual. I don't know if anybody's seen the Carvana commercial where they drop a car off and you have a few days to look at it. You can drive it and then send it home. It's a little different with a house. We can't drop it off and take a look at it for a few days. So I don't think the Carvana industry is really going to take over the real estate industry, because, homes have, they look great on film. Let's put it that way. You can take a film, I just aged myself, in pictures, let's put it that way. There are a lot of homes that look great when you get there. The rooms are a lot smaller. You can't see all the little particular things that are not pleasing. You can't detect any smells, odors, animals, things like that. So in homeowners are willing to show the homes. Buyers, I don't think there's a buyer out there that would say, I'll take the house, I don't need to look at it, the pictures look fine. So this was a great solution to the problem. Am I talking too much? Just let me know.
No. I'm listening. I was in the back of my mind, I was just brainstorming the idea of how this virtual tour would transpire. So if going back, you mentioned that the seller can open the door.
Right.
And is it the realtor or the potential buyer that can enter the home? Or
Only the buyer. We're not allowed to have any showings in person whatsoever.
Okay, so when that happens, I'm just trying to think through this, does the agent, whoever the agent is from whatever real estate agency, are they on the phone with the person as they look through the house, or
yeah, well, there's a couple of options. First of all, I'll run through some of the things that we can do. First, we have these virtual appointments. So everything is done now online. So that's why I said I need new glasses. So we have virtual appointments. We can walk through the properties. If there's a video tour, we are not allowed to leave the home. So I can't even go take a video tour if my seller is not handy with a cell phone. Let's say they're elderly or they just don't have good lighting in the house. That's the best we can do for a video tour. Other states have different rules, but New York, we cannot, even if the home is vacant, we're not allowed to walk through there with a camera and just upload a video of the home.
Interesting.
We're really, New Jersey, on the other hand, agents can go to vacant homes. In New York, I'm not even allowed to put a sign on the front lawn. If I took a listing virtually and someone sent me all the pictures, I can't put a sign in the trunk of my car, drive to the property and put it on the front lawn. Illegal in New York. So we are really have our hands tied here, but we're still managing because no one's driving around, so the lawn sign doesn't have that much value anyway at this point. So what we're doing, or what the real estate community does, is you send your clients the digital list of homes. You can do a virtual property tour. In some cases, the seller walks around with a camera and will answer questions. If the buyer's walking through, I can be on the phone with the buyer while they're videoing, and we could talk about things. We can look at the house and say, hey, Joe, what do you think of this bathroom? I'm not sure if look at this crack here, and we can help them out in that respect. At least they get to see the home in person.
Got it. So the buyer can take video. It's just that the real estate brokerage or agency can't take the video and use it.
Yeah, there's no accompanying whatsoever. Anything essentially that we do out of the home is considered illegal according to the state of New York. Gotcha. So we really can't do that. If there's a closing, the check gets mailed to us. We have no part of the closing. The home inspector needs to see the property. I can go unlock the door for the home inspector if it's a vacant property. Otherwise, and the home inspection can take place, but no one could be home. So you could see how you're going to hire a complete, total stranger. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Tom.
I'm sorry. How about bank assessments, things of that nature?
Appraisals, outdoors. If appraiser needs to get in, an appraiser usually has access through MLS, so they can let themselves in. But appraisers are even doing drive-bys and going by the photographs, a lot of them. Some of the banks are okay with that as well. You got to hope that a house doesn't have any violations on it, because the building department and everybody's closed and limited. So if there's a violation on a property, it's going to have to be addressed after the closing at a later date when the building department opens back up, or they just won't close for the time being. They're going to have to wait. It's going to take a long time to get violations removed.
How does the commercial market look at the moment? Has that come to a standstill as well?
That is, well, the residential is not at a standstill. Commercial is pretty much at a standstill because of the, this is my, my personal experience. There's probably a lot of brokers that might hear this conversation and disagree with me, but the market right now, there's going to be a lot of, it's going to change. The rates are going to change. As Jeremy mentioned, hi Jeremy, how are you? mentioned before, that we have a lot of retail space and everything like that. That I'm pretty sure, like I said, I don't have a crystal ball. I don't want to make predictions, but we have to see if a large population is happy staying home and ordering everything online. It's going to make a difference. Not that people won't open stores, but it might bring the rental costs down substantially. I know that from many of the businesses that I've spoken to, they are not necessarily needing an office with 75 cubicles anymore, because they know that 30 of those people can work from home now and pay them less money and less liability. So I really don't, right now it's completely dead because we can't show those properties either. No showings is across the board. But how it's going to turn out afterwards, I couldn't tell you, but I can tell you that housing will be strong.
Agreed. Well, Joe, thank you for your time. And did anybody else have any questions for either Jeremy or Joe, or between each other? Any sort of things that you wanted to communicate to each other? Okay. Well, Joe, thank you very much. As typical, what I do is I post this video to YouTube and to Facebook, and then we share it around. So there might be some additional questions that come down the pike, and I'll instant message them to both of you and route people to various things, like, for instance, the County of Rockland, the Workforce Development Board. So Joe, both Joe and Jeremy, thank you for being here today.
Thank you, Tom. It's a pleasure.
So that's the close of today. We've always aimed for 45 minutes. We've been able to do that. It's actually kind of ironic because I'm not always that great with being on the minute with time, but we're getting pretty close for these Friday forums. So again, I want to thank the Workforce Development Board for sponsoring these meetings. Our next meeting date is going to be Friday, May 1st, next Friday at 12:30 p.m. We should have a member of the Small Business Administration discussing changes to the Paycheck Protection Program. As some of you know, legislation was agreed upon this week between the Senate and Congress. It's being sent to the Fed, to the executive branch for signing some additional funding for small businesses. So we hope to have some additional guidance on that component by the time of the meeting next week. And if we can get a member of the Small Business Administration to discuss the program, that would be just wonderful. So thank you again for all your time and watching these meetings. If you have suggestions for the future, please message me. We'll continue to keep these going for as long as necessary. And as I always close out, I mentioned, God bless you all. I hope that you're all safe and healthy, and we will get through this together. Let's just hang in there and stay positive and strong, and it's going to work out. So take care for now, and we'll see you soon.
Thank you. Bye.